Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. D-Style here. If you're listening on archive, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and hey, take a moment. The video, all right? Take a moment and do that. Haven't been on here for a while, so bear with me as I get all this up and running here. All right. Now listen to me. I know I've talked about this a lot, but I don't think I've ever titled the video this. So I want to talk about freedom. A lot of people don't understand. They just don't. Okay. And I know they don't because they contradict themselves about everything. Okay. Being for freedom of speech means that you have to be principled, right? It means that you support not just your freedom of speech, but everyone else's freedom of speech. It's a principle thing, right? But the other thing to understand about freedom of speech, right, is understanding the context of it. So, for example, freedom of speech, okay, being in the First Amendment, is to protect your freedom of speech from the government. That's the whole point of that, okay? And there's actually laws that don't allow the government to force people, okay, to be subservient and all this other shit, okay? That's another deal. And then there's that's your protection of freedom of speech. That's what the protection of freedom of speech. And then there's the idea of freedom of speech. The idea of freedom of speech it's just the morality of it, right? Of whether you believe in it or you don't. So I just don't get how. I just don't get what people don't understand. So every time, am I the only one that has noticed this growing trend of like conservatives going on like Facebook and they'll title the video something like, you know, conservative owns NFL players or something like that, right? Like they'll try to act they'll put like a title that tries to make them be cool and all this other shit. And they'll usually be like in a car or something with a cowboy hat or some cap or something. You know, they always have like a beard and sometimes they'll have like sunglasses on and they're just ranting. You know, they do these rants and then you look at the comment section and it's filled like, oh, truth bomb. And like they'll use like that language that conservatives like never use, but they're starting to adapt now, you know, but anyway, it's actually against the law for a government official, including the president, to be telling private citizens what they should or should not do when it comes to the national anthem. Now, I'm not here. I'm going to tell you the section code, this and that. I don't know the numbers, but I know it is. All right? I don't have that in front of me. It's also against the First Amendment. The President of the United States cannot do that or shouldn't do that, I should say. This is insane to me that you have people, right, that are okay with the President of the United States telling the NFL franchise that they should fire NFL players who do not stand for the national anthem. I mean, this is insane to me. That is, I thought you guys were all for the, you know, I know you guys are really for the Second Amendment, but you know, I'm talking about the First Amendment. That one's important as well. All right. So we need to make sure here that this is really understood. No, but you don't understand. Trump has freedom of speech too. Donald Trump is a president of the United States. Okay. He's part of the executive branch. He's the head of the executive branch of this country. Donald Trump cannot tell people that they must stand for the national anthem or else. That's he cannot do that. What is it that you don't understand? And then you get the people, and then you get the smart asses that come out and they say, well, just because they have the right to do it doesn't mean that they should, right? Look, either you have the right to do it or you don't. It's not you have the right to do it, but don't do it. Like, no, that's you know how dumb that sounds? You have every right to take a knee for the national anthem, but you better not do it. That's not the way it works. All right? You have a right to act however I want you to act. It's not freedom. Right? That's not freedom. That's not what it is at all, actually. Okay? And then, you see, I'm principled when it comes to freedom of speech. I'm very principled when it comes to it. Okay? But since you guys don't want to be principled, right? Because they get all technical, right? Whenever the president is calling for the firing of NFL players, and we start bringing up freedom of speech, and all of a sudden, conservatives get all technical. Oh, but the NFL is not government. The NFL is a private corporation. The NFL can fire whoever they want because the freedom of speech is only protected by the government. It's not protected by your employer, right? You know how they say that? If I failed to do my job, if I protested in my job, okay, I get fired. Like you know how they say all this shit, all right? So like. Okay, so in that case, then don't bitch and cry and moan when Alex Jones gets banned from YouTube then. YouTube is a private corporation. They could do whatever they want. YouTube isn't the government. If YouTube wants to censor, Alex Jones, then too bad. Then don't cry about it. All right? Whenever conservative platforms get banned on YouTube or Facebook or all these popular things that were made by liberals, by the way, all right? But when they get banned from all these things, right? I don't want you to bitch and cry and moan because it's not the government doing it. I mean, just the other day, the Donald Trump went on Twitter and he said, oh, conservatives are getting banned on Twitter. We're going to investigate this. But are you kidding me? Twitter could do whatever they want. What are you talking about? There is no principled stance at all when it comes to freedom of speech. No principle stance. Now notice, when it comes to taking a stand on freedom of speech, it has nothing to do with whether you agree with the message that they're portraying or not. You notice how I haven't even talked about that? Oh, but it's disrespectful to the veterans and blah, blah. That's your opinion, man. Okay? That's all that is. That is your misguided misinterpretation of why they're taking a knee. Now, before I continue to my thoughts about that, notice, before I even get to whether I agree with the kneeling or not, since I'm principled on freedom of speech, I think they have every right to do it. It's hurting no one. It's doing nothing to anybody. All right? Now let's talk about the actual issue at hand. Why are they taking a knee? Okay, it almost seems like it's the goalpost is getting moved so much that it takes forever to get the goalpost back to where it originally was. It seems like every single time we talk this topic, we have to give like a whole historical lesson on how this whole thing started. And it's getting tiring to do it, but fuck it, let's just do it again. Colin Kaepernick decided to sit out during the national anthem. Okay, he sat down. Now, when he sat down, he told you, like, oh, I can't believe they're taking a knee. Why don't they, I just don't get it. Well, maybe if you listen, they'll tell you. So he's, from day one, he told you why he was sitting down. All right? He told you it was about police brutality. That's why he sat down during the national anthem. Now, at that point, if you want to disagree with him on that, or have a debate on that, or have a discussion on that, okay. But since that day, they've been moving the goalposts. Oh, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the troops. It's disrespectful to the veterans. It's disrespectful to my flag. I see it and I don't like it. Right? Now, granted, before, I actually forgot to go more back. It wasn't until like 2008 that NFL players actually went out to the field, right? Because the Department of Defense was giving millions of dollars to the NFL for fake patriotism, right? They started to pay them, right, to do these, to put the flag out and have the, and promote military, okay? To promote quote unquote patriotism. So it wasn't since then, okay? So for all these people talking nonsense, like, oh, this, man, back in the day, my players wouldn't have done this. Like, what? You guys were sitting out in the locker room, right? Like, when I hear these like veteran players or players that played in the past, all these dudes sat out in the locker room during the national anthem. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't do that while I was playing. Like, you were in the locker room. But anyway, all right? So it didn't start to 2008. It wasn't until you got to, I think, the NFC championships, AFC championships, and then the Super Bowl. And I think at some points it was just the Super Bowl where guys actually walked out, all right, to stand for the national anthem. That's it. Okay, this whole idea that, ever since they said, oh, they can stay in the locker room and they don't want to stand for the anthem. Oh, that is unacceptable. We have to stand for the national anthem. So it was. So where were you guys before 2008 when they were all sitting down there in the locker room during the national anthem? Where were you guys then? You had nothing to say back then. It's become. This is how you know it's a fake issue. Anyway. So let's fast forward, Colin Kaepernick. So he was sitting down, right? And there was the whole issue of the veterans, right? Oh, the veterans, you're being disrespectful. You're spitting in the face of the veterans. Like, it's crazy shit, right? And then a Green Beret approached Colin Kaepernick and he said, look, I support your freedom of speech. I just don't like that you're sitting down during the anthem, right? Maybe if you take a knee during the national anthem, it's respectful to the veterans, but at the same time you could protest your cause, right? I mean, that was the idea behind it, and the reason behind that is because, as he said, when he goes visits his comrades or whatever that died in battle, or veterans that died, okay. And he goes to the grave, he goes to one knee to pay respects to them, right? So this was a suggestion from a veteran, right? That a war hero that told Colin Kaepernick to take a knee, and Colin, well, okay, I could do that. And that's what he did. And then somehow it was spun that taking the knee was disrespectful. Well, apparently everything's disrespectful. If you don't do what we told you to do, okay, it's disrespectful. That's what it comes down to. All right. So more players started to take a knee, and we are where we are now. Right. President Trump is giving his take, calling us sons of a bitches. Sons of a bitches. They don't know. He just recently tweeted that they don't know, okay, what they're even talking about because they're rich and spoiled. Okay. I mean, that's basically what he said. They can't possibly understand, okay, what being mistreated is like, because, I mean, come on, they're millionaires. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, you can't make this shit up, but all of a sudden Republicans have no empathy whatsoever for rich millionaires, okay? I mean, this is insane. Donald Trump has done the following since he took the presidency, okay? He has threatened to increase taxes on NFL owners unless they act on the players taking a knee. That is illegal, and that's a First Amendment issue, Okay? You can't target certain individuals because they're not doing what you want them to do. All right? The president shouldn't target private citizens that way. And look, I'm not here. I don't feel. Look, I'm the last person to be here and be like, oh, I care about the feelings of these rich millionaires or billionaires, I should say. Okay, that's not my issue. But you shouldn't do that, though. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. He's also done the other things I've mentioned. Okay. Look, Donald Trump could say he doesn't like it. Donald Trump should say that, in my opinion, I would appreciate they would stand up. He could even say that. What he can't do is call for their firing, or call for their now he's doing rules now, like first time suspension, second time fire. Like what? That's stupid. Okay. So now you have a bunch of people that have fallen for this shit. It's unbelievable. They clearly don't understand freedom of speech. And then when, you know how they say, why they're taking a knee during the anthem, right? Like, I don't care what they do outside of the anthem, but for those 2 minutes, they need to stand up, put their hands on their hearts, right? That's what they should do. Any other time, I don't care what they do, they say, right? Well, obviously you don't care, okay? Because when they're doing all this good charity work and all that, you guys don't care. You know what I mean? But when it comes to these 2 minutes, like I swear to God, whatever they do, I just don't want it to do it during the anthem. That's what they say, right? When LeBron James is on CNN during the off season of the NBA, that's far away from the national anthem as you can get, okay? And he gives his opinion on the president. He's a private citizen, right? And he gives his opinion on the president. All these people get outraged. Like, oh, how dare you talk about the president of the United States? The presidency requires, a level of respect. All of a sudden, we need to respect the presidency. All of a sudden, we need to respect what the people chose. Now, first of all, let me make this clear. He did not win the popular vote. So he did not win in the sense of as a popular president, right? It wasn't one man, one vote or whatever. That's not what happened. He won per the Electoral College, and I just don't have an issue with that, but we need to be a little accurate when we say these things, right? But nonetheless, he won the presidency. All of a sudden, we need to respect the president. These are the same people that were applauding and egging Donald Trump on when he was pursuing this whole Obama, you need to show me your birth certificate. I mean, I know. I mean, it's I'm going to say anything but the fact that you're black to justify me asking for the birth certificate, right? That's what I'm going to do here. But nonetheless, okay, I need you to show me the birth certificate. When there was outrage about him wearing a tan suit, I mean, you couldn't make the shit up. And I am far from an Obama sympathizer, okay? I am far from this huge, Obama supporter. All right, but it was obvious to see that this president dealt with a lot of disrespect. It's obvious to see that. We never seen hatred for a president at this level. There was conservative rallies where they had I don't know what you would call it, like a big doll or whatever. Where they were basically, hanging, Obama, okay? I mean, they had displays of them hanging Obama and calling him a traitor and all this other shit with no proof, by the way, right? They had no proof that Obama was a quote-unquote traitor that was colluding with the terrorists and was working with ISIS. There's no proof of that at all. In fact, they were actually bombing ISIS, but that's another story. Okay, if anything, we were doing a little too much military action around the world and bombing 8 countries in the name of fighting quote unquote terrorism. But that's another story, and that's my issue with Obama. But nonetheless, this idea that he was doing all this stuff and he was a traitor is what they wanted to believe. but that's just not the case. It's just not true. And if you don't believe, if there was actual proof that Obama worked with terrorists and all this other stuff, you really believe that Jeff Sessions right now wouldn't be doing something about it? Do you really believe that the Trump wouldn't be doing something about it right now? Really? Now, when there is a lot more proof, and now we're headed to like dozens of indictments, collusion with Russians, and his son, meeting with Russians at the Trump Hotel, and this is just what we know so far, right? I'm not saying he's colluded because I need to see all the evidence, but it's pointing towards that direction. Now that we see that, calling him a traitor, that he's the most hated president of all time, this guy obviously has other issues to worry about. I think he's using sports to, at least get an issue that he believes most people stand on, right? And he's kind of dividing people by using sports. And that's kind of basically what LeBron James said. So back to my point. When LeBron James during the offseason gives his opinion on the president, he's being told to shut up. Wait a minute. You guys said protest or say whatever you want at any time as long as it's not during the anthem. That's what you guys said. Well, he wasn't like, maybe I'm wrong. Was the anthem playing or something while he was talking? Somebody fact check that for me. Was the national anthem playing? Okay, while that was happening? Maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? Okay. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Okay. Like, even if you're the biggest Trump supporter in the world, right? Like, how could you, like, if you're principled on freedom of speech, at the very least, you got to say, hey, look, I support Trump. I like some of his policies, but I like what he's doing with trade or whatever you believe, right? Policy-wise. But I really wish he would lay off the NFL players and the NFL owners. See, that's not his place. Whatever, right? I disagree with I'm all about the blue, and I think police are the best people in the world. I disagree with the players, but I think they're dead wrong. But they have a right to take a knee. Like, if you said that, that's perfectly. I mean, I think you're wrong. I disagree with you. But at the very least, you're sticking to the topic at hand. All right. Accusing people of doing something that they're not is one of the most annoying things. Right. And constantly moving the goalposts does not help discussion. We cannot have an honest discussion about police brutality, right? Like, how do you have that discussion when people, instead of talking about that, they start talking about other shit? Like, you know why they're taking the knee? Because they hate veterans. That's why they're taking the knee. Like, if that's what you're thinking, then you're in Mars or something. Like, you're in another planet, And like, if you honestly believe that dozens of NFL players, right? Most of them, not all, that are black, all got together and agreed, hey, we're all going to take a knee because we hate the veterans and we want to show everybody how much we hate them, right? Like, if you honestly believe that that's what they're doing, then you're a moron. Like, there's no other way to put it, okay? Now, you have every right to be a moron, but what you don't have a right to do is infringe on somebody else's freedom of speech. That's what you don't have the right to do. And the president doesn't either. Okay? Now, let me get to the other issue. Right? I saw a moron, speaking of morons, give a speech, right? Like he was in like most conservative rants. He was in a car. He was wearing sunglasses. He had a cowboy hat on. No, I think it was like a backwards cowboy hat. Now that I think about it, backwards baseball cap. I'm sorry. Ironically, right? And he was ranting about how NFL players, okay, are immoral, right? Like, them taking the knee obviously shows that they are immoral, right? That's what they said, right? And then he said, and I swear to God he said this, he says, if you guys it's tougher to get into a police department than the NFL. That's what he said, right? Like, do you know the type of test that a police officer needs to go through to become a police officer? It's a lot harder to get, like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Are you kidding me? Are you seriously arguing that it's harder to get in the police force than it is to get in the NFL? Like, that, you don't have to know math or go through the statistics to know that that's stupid, okay? That's number one. What you do? Well, you just run fast and know how to catch a ball. Like, this is just dumb, okay? What has LeBron James contributed other than bouncing a ball? Like, the way they just strawman sports, is unbelievable, right? An athlete could rape somebody and they will defend that athlete to no end, okay? I've seen athletes get defended for doing the most atrocious things imaginable. Roethlisberger get accused of freaking rape, right? And Pittsburgh will unite behind this dude and demonize the woman to no end without knowing all the facts, by the way. Could the woman be lying? Yeah, women lie. Yeah, sure. Guess who? You know who lies too? Rapists. They don't come out and say, yeah, I did it. That's not what they say. I don't know if you guys knew that, right? They'll defend that without knowing the facts all day. A dude takes a knee. Oh, some bitch. I'm done with Steelers. I'm going to burn all my jerseys of the Steelers. I'm done. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I honestly believe 20 years from now or 30 years from now, people are going to look back and they're going to think how stupid people were. Okay? And nobody's going to admit they were one of the ones booing the players kneeling. No one's going to admit that. It always happens, okay? Like, you never have. There's people alive today that were around during the Civil Rights era, okay? Most white people were against the Civil Rights Act, okay? You rarely find people that say, oh, yeah, I was against it. Like, you rarely find it, right? It's rare. But I'm telling you right now, that's how people are going to look at it. So the NFL has a real serious, issue on their hand. It's a couple of million that the Department of Defense gives you really worth all this, because that's really you selling yourselves like that, whoring yourselves for this, okay, has really caused this issue. And let me address one more thing, okay, because it's tied into the whole, athlete thing. If I protest and do my job, all right, I get fired. Like, who the fuck clocks in and then does the national anthem before they start working? Okay, first of all, these employers, they ain't too greedy to pay people, 2 minutes to do nothing. Okay, like Pledge of Allegiance and all that shit. Okay, but who does that? Are you kidding me? I've never had a job where I start off by doing the national anthem. Ever. Now, not that I can think of. There's no rule that says you have to do the national anthem before a sporting event or before you start working. There's actually laws against that, you fucking blithering idiots. We don't live in North Korea. We don't have to hail dear leader, okay, before we start doing shit, all right? Everything here is done voluntarily. Look, if you want to wake up in the morning and you want to put the flag out, I know there's people that do that and pledge of allegiance to the flag. You do that, you knock yourself out, okay? That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, if you want to do that, you do that, all right? You knock yourself out if you want to do that. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do, right? Well, my job, like, yeah, you have a sucky job, okay? I know that you're jealous that these athletes are making millions, okay? Like, it is what it is, okay? Stop complaining about it, all right? Like, this shit's insane. Like, what? Then stop bluffing and stop watching it. Then, like, I'm never gonna watch the NFL ever. Like, well, then don't, okay? You fucking liars. Yes, you are gonna watch. Are you kidding me? More people are streaming it. Okay, that's why the ratings are going down. But who cares? Who gives a shit? Look, a lot of these people, man, many of them like played like football in high school, and they couldn't even make it to college football. Okay, they're over here, getting jealous of pro athletes. That's what it is, right? But still, let me say this, right? In closing, the national anthem ceremony is not part of a football player's job. Okay, the football player's job is on the field. Okay, that's their job. If the quarterback says hike and the wide receiver takes a knee to protest in the middle of a play, then I'll be the first one to say, yeah, that's not a good time to protest, because you're literally expected to go, like, run that route and catch that ball, right, at that moment. But the ceremony before the game is a perfect time to protest. That's what protest is. It gets people's attention. You're not hurting anybody, and it's not stopping the progress of the game whatsoever. There's no better time to protest. Why don't they go protest on their own time when nobody's watching? Then it would defeat the purpose of a protest. That's why, right? You blithering idiots, okay? Now, with that said, let me bring up the chat. Man, there's a lot of comments here, but we'll read through them real quick. Joe Host, short answer, people don't understand jack shit about free speech. No, they don't. QuestX in the house says his wife and him are listening. Awesome. Andre Avellino, apparently the First Amendment can only be invoked when talking about the Second Amendment. Right. Apparently. Question entity, brother, that Trump is doing is completely unconstitutional when it pertains to so many things. Very true. Avellino Souls, don't forget, Trump also calls for banning certain news organizations. Essentially, he doesn't believe in freedom of speech nor freedom of the press either. Exactly. Okay. If President Obama would have came out and said, I want to ban Fox News. Fox News is putting out a bunch of fake news about me. They're telling people, their audience, I'm a Muslim, or insinuating it, right? They are constantly bringing up my birth certificate, like Sean Hannity was for a while, right? They're fake news. Now, was that fake? That was absolutely fake news. Fox News admitted to it later, right? But that aside, let's say Obama would have called for the banning of Fox News. I would have been against it. And I don't like Fox News. But I would have been against it. Why? Because I'm principled. And I believe in freedom of speech and freedom of the press. That's why. QuestX and brother, what Trump is doing, yeah, I got that. I read that, I believe. Actually, I already read all those. Okay, let me go here. QuestX says, extreme white wingers are notoriously hypocritical. It's the same when it comes to gay and lesbian marriage, abortion, and family values. Well, it's honestly, we used to call it extremely Fox News, my brother, but I don't know, extreme right wingers, but extreme right winger now is, they're becoming more and more normal now. They really are. But I get what you're saying. Tax Act, it had nothing to do with the flag. Yeah, true. Avellino, every time I go to a sporting event, people talk, play on their phones, go get food, beer, etc. all during the national anthem. Nobody gives a fuck about the flag veterans until Kaepernick. Yeah, I know. I went to a sporting event on Sunday, right? Nobody gave a shit about the national. Nobody cared, right? No, nobody cared. I went to go buy popcorn and shit. The lines were full. Okay, it was a soccer event. I know you guys don't care. Okay, but I'm saying. Okay, but nobody cared. And yes, it was in MLS, and there was a shitload of like Americans there. Okay, so I'm just saying, it's a bunch of horseshit. Nobody said no. Like, I don't care what they say. All right, and look, if they do, God bless you. Do whatever you want. Okay. But I've never met a person that stands up for the national anthem like in their house before a game. Okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, I never seen it. Like, it doesn't happen. You know, get the fuck out of here. All right, like, who are you kidding? But anyway, but that's me. Quest X, we know that, and people are complaining. Know that what it does, it gaslights a certain segment of the political landscape to muddy the waters when it comes to real issues. I also believe it's to distract. It's a distraction at its finest, and I agree. And it's also because they know they can't, in the long run, they're not going to win the police brutality debates. You know, when they were hosing people in the streets, primarily black people, okay, and unleashing dogs on them, I hope people understand that was considered like normal, okay? Well, if they would have listened, okay, if these agitators listen, they wouldn't have to do that. These policemen are human, okay? They have a wife and kid to go to, all right? And then they were being very aggressive, okay? You don't know what happened. Yeah, well, we didn't have smartphones back then either. Could you only imagine what was happening? How does protesting the rampant murder of colored people by the police equal disrespect for veterans? Didn't veterans supposedly fight for the right to protest these things? They did. But you know, their comeback is, you have a right to do it, but you shouldn't do it. That's what they say. And they say this like with the straightest face imaginable. It's unbelievable. Avelino continues, it's funny how everything is construed as disrespect for veterans. Take a knee during the anthem, protest the war, etc. But Trump literally defends Nazis, and the U.S. literally fought against Nazis. What the fuck? I agree. Trump went out of his way to talk about a terrorist attack that happened in London, right? And oh, these people are animals because it works with his base to attack Muslims, right? It works. White dude stabbed a black woman to death in a subway. The dude has nothing to say, and it's not that he hasn't been asked about it. He hasn't not a peep for this president. Not a peep. Not a peep. By the way, Blue Lives Matter. Every time, because people do know, right? I hope everybody knows that the most common cop killer is a white dude. White males kill cops at an unbelievable rate, right? They are the primary cop killers in this country, right? So you never Blue Lives Matter, like their Facebook page, no traffic when this happens. None. There's absolutely no traffic. It's unbelievable. They don't talk about it. They only come out when there's an unarmed black guy or unarmed Hispanic gets shot. All of a sudden, they're out everywhere. Okay, Blue Lives Matter. Like, what? A white dude just shot a cop. You would think that would be the perfect time to do Blue Lives Matter. But anyway, I digress. Avelino continues. How are you not disrespecting the veterans when you defend the very same people they fought against? Yeah, I know. Plus, can somebody explain to me how Donald Trump, and let me say this. How is mocking John McCain for being captured? Right? I like people that aren't. He's a hero because he was captured. I like people that aren't captured. But by the way, after he dodged like Vietnam, by the way, multiple times, and not by the way, not like it's not like Trump, did it the honorable way. It's not like Trump had a stance, right? It's not like he said, no, look, I'm perfectly fine, but I'm not going to go to war. I don't want to kill Vietnamese. It's not like he took a principled stance. He got deferments, okay? He had daddy pay a doctor to say he had bone spurs, okay? What a pussy. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So it's funny how everything is construed as disrespect for veterans. Take a knee during the anthem, protest the war, etc. But Trump literally defends Nazis. The U.S. literally fought against Nazis. I already read that, but let me say this. You know what's amazing? You want to hear something amazing? After Jack Johnson, this country was terrified of ever giving another African American a title shot. Okay. But the thought of a Nazi. Now, I want to be fair. He wasn't a Nazi. Okay, I just want to be fair. Okay, but from the American perspective, the thought of Nazi Germany getting a hold of the World Heavyweight Championship was such a no-no that they were like, "Nah, we don't trust Braddock." Right? We're gonna have Joe Louis fight for the title. Right? After Joe Louis knocks out Braddock, then you gotta fight. You gotta fight Joe Louis. Okay. Right? Like, it's just put that in perspective and just think about where we are today, right? In 2018, when it comes to Nazis and all this shit. All right? Just think about it. Think about it, people. Let's see here. Hold on, my page is loading. And that was Max Schmeling, by the way. It was from Germany. All right. How are you not disrespecting the veterans when you defend the very same people they fought against? I think I read that. But yes, I got you. The Gorguruga says that you catch the fear press earlier. No, I did not. We're going Andre. Saint top Nazi scientists were taken out of Germany to America. Interesting. Wernher von Braun, for example, employed by NASA after his life as a Nazi. Okay. Altamori. So in a day where we have the left constantly yelling, no borders, no walls, no USA at all, what do you expect? When it's say like the left, because it's like I guess I'm the left, right? So at the end of the day, so you have one side that believes we have no borders, right? And that side is actually not the left, it's the right. Well, I live at the border. I know for a fact we have a border. I know for a fact that we have Border Patrol and Customs. Okay, we don't have an open border despite whatever horseshit you hear. That's just not true, right? And most people that are caught here are seeking asylum, right? So that's a little different than the perspective that you're given by your precious president, right? So what you're doing is this whole straw manning thing, like, oh, well, the left, they're chanting these things, so therefore we got to do what we got to do. Like, okay. It is a false narrative. Number of people shot to death by the police in the United States 2017 by race, whites, 457, black, 223, Hispanic, 179, other, 44, unknown, 84. And then there's a thing called per capita, right? So, or maybe not per capita, but let's just say percentages, right? Look at the percentage of white people that kill cops. That's number one. Okay. And then look at the percentages of white people that live in this country. And then look at the percentages of black people that live in this country, the percentages of Hispanics that live in this country. It's not that your little narrative isn't quite working here, is it? And by the way, cops are killing people in general, right? I do have a problem with trigger-happy cops. I don't like the fact that they're also shooting white people, and I don't like the fact that they're obviously shooting Hispanics or anybody else for that matter. But to act like they're not disproportionately killing African Americans is being silly and either purposely or you just don't know the facts of the situation, right? But there's no truth to this whole, oh, well, the left, they're chanting no borders, no USA. And that's just not true. That's just not true. A vast majority, and I'm not talking about little fringe groups, and I'm talking about the vast majority of people in the quote unquote left, okay, all they want, okay, is for people to be treated humanely, okay? They don't want kids separated from their parents, okay? And okay, that's number one. Number two, okay, we just want health care that covers everybody. Like, ooh, what a horrible thing, right? Instead of raising the military budget by 82 billion, maybe we should spend that on helping kids afford college instead. So your kid and my kids and everybody else's kids can go to college. Those aren't like horrible things. And universal health care and free college tuition is done in other countries. It's not like we don't have some type of way to see if it works or not, because it's done in other countries. And then what happens? A lot of those people get free education. A lot of them end up moving to the States, and they take a job that will otherwise be taken by an American, because America doesn't educate enough people, because school is so damn fucking expensive. So a lot of great paying jobs are being taken by quote unquote foreigners, because we don't have people to take these jobs. Well, there you go. So you agree that abuse of the police should always be highlighted and aggressively and adversely dealt with to the courts and through administrative action when appropriate. Well, there you go. I don't think we have much of a disagreement, to be honest with you. All right. So with that said, hold on. What you're not being told is the Border Patrol's own stats show that 85% of people crossing a border that are seeking asylum do not have legitimate asylum claims. That's why we vet them. You see, number one, that's proof that we don't have open borders. Okay. Of course, there are people that lie, because people, just in general, and of all races, lie. Okay, so of course, especially if they're looking, whether it's good intent, bad intent, whatever the case is. Okay, if they see something to their benefit, they're going to try to do that. We vet them, so properly vet them, and if they're not true asylum seekers, then we send them back. Most people I know, many which are more liberal than me, agree with that. All right? That's all I got to say. Well, that's it. We'll leave it on that note, because I do got to go. I do honestly got to go. All right? But this is DStyle, and I'm out of here. Peace.